Hello YouTube, shintigercurl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you yet another wrestling review. I'm of course joined by my faithful cohort and fellow internet superstar, Joe. Say hi, Joe. He's glad to be back. After some technical issues from the last time, which prevented me from recording my last two videos, excuse me, it's time once again for Monday Night Raw review. Last week, 55 superstars, staff, and everyone else walked out on the WWE. What kind of show are we going to see this week? I got my notes. Let's get started. Raw comes out and it's surprisingly empty. Very few backstage staffers, no referees, no referees, no announcers, and Triple H comes out virtually alone. He comes to the ring to a raucous fanfare by the fans who very vehemently support him. He gets in the ring and he says that pretty much that he was surprised that a lot of those by the walkout last week, and pretty much calls them a bunch of babies. Now, my friend Legato says that Triple H buried the entire roster. I'm not seeing it. I mean, that's just me. But anyway, he doesn't know what kind of show he'll put on. Then Cena comes out. Cena gives a speech about how, since the walkout began, people have been asking him to join the walkout as well, seeing how he's the face of the company. He says he doesn't want to do it because if he walked out, he'd walk out on the fans, and you know Super Cena loves the fans. So anyway, he says he's sticking with Triple H. Sheamus comes out, and he says that when he attacked Triple H a few years ago, Triple H came back and beat his ass, which he has no shame in admitting. And he says that he admires Triple H and what he stands for, so he's staying with him. CM Punk comes out and says that he is most likely the one responsible for this entire chain of events. And even though he threatened to walk out, he still stayed within his contract and kept his promises to entertain the crowd. Now, while he and Triple H might have some words with each other, he still respects him enough that change won't come from people walking out and acting and doing a little hippie sit-in, as he likes to call it. Funny enough, Punk makes this angle work. Of course, it's Punk. Anyway, Trips decides that since they got nothing much to work with, he decides to make a match between John Cena and Sheamus, with himself as referee, and Punk doing commentary. Score! Although I would have preferred Triple H versus a broom, taking a page out of Ric Flair's book, but that's that. The match was good and pretty good until Vince McMahon comes out. Vince says that he would like to talk to his stepson, his son-in-law alone. He says that he enjoyed everything that Triple H has been doing, shaking things up, making things wild and crazy. He enjoyed it personally, but the board of directors didn't. So sadly, like Triple H did several months before, Vince informed him that his services were no longer required. So in effect, he's fired as COO. They decide. He also says that the board will pick someone to take over the position as general manager or COO, but someone completely impartial, someone not far away from the McMahon situation as possible. But until then, the interim GM is Johnny Ace. Yeah. So anyway, the rest of all the walkouties come out, and Johnny Ace is there to welcome them. John Morrison decides that this would be a perfect opportunity to shoot his mouth off, and says that Johnny Ace sucks. So he tells Morrison to get in the ring in his street clothes and wrestle. Christian comes up later and says that, well, he's happy to have him as the new interim general manager, and Johnny Ace decides to make it Christian versus John Morrison, which we have our next match. John Morrison versus Christian, flanked by the group I refer to as the Masters of Evil. With JR the King and Michael Cole, who personally says that he's responsible for the walkout. This was a decent enough match. Christian picks up the win, and the Masters of Evil beat the crap out of John Morrison. This is what you get This is what you get, Morrison, when you let a girlfriend tell you what to do, and you shoot your mouth off. Next up, Mark Henry versus Randy Orton. Mark Henry cuts a pretty good promo, saying that at Vengeance, he will have vengeance against the Big Show for beating him up last Friday. Enter Randy Orton, and they have a match. Not the best kind of match, but definitely not the worst. Orton goes for the RKO, but Dr. Doom, Cody Rhodes, comes in and attacks, which gets the match thrown out. He goes to RKO Cody Rhodes, but he pushes him off and eats a World's Strongest Slam. 2, in fact. Mark Henry doesn't realize the match has ended in FUBAR and is pretty much upset and takes it out on Orton. Cody Rhodes then comes in, picks up the bones, and gives him a paper bag. That's right. Cody Rhodes just bagged Randy Orton. Okay, that was weird. But anyway, there's that. Next up, Crazy Kelly and Eve Torres versus Rosa Mendez and Tamina. Again, this is just another match to make female Cena look good, and I'm really not buying her whole crazy thing. She's just not the type to beat people's asses. Anyway, she botched a few things, but thankfully Eve saved this match. Eve, despite all the crap I give her, is a pretty competent wrestler, and her moonsault at the end was pretty good. Johnny Ace then comes out and calls JR into the ring. He says that JR walked out on Triple H, even though Triple H gave him his old job back. So, he effectively fired JR, and Michael Cole couldn't be happier. My ears are still burning from that shit. Next up, Mason Ryan and the Bourne Kings take on Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger, and David Otunga, attorney at law. This is a pretty good 6-man tag. Not as good as the 12-man tag last week, but pretty good. Mason Ryan cleans house, and he in turn gets the pin. Next up, we get a trailer for another Cena movie. Cena, this could be your Tooth Fairy. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, our next matchup, our main event, Alberto Del Rio, El Patron, versus CM Punk. This is a pretty good matchup at the start. Then Johnny Ace comes out and says that this match will be changed to a tag match between Alberto Del Rio and CM Punk versus the newly reinstated Awesome Truth. This was it started to get okay, and then Alberto Del Rio, of course, walks out of them citing injury. So it's effectively 2-on-1 between Punk and the Awesome Truth. Punk puts on an amazing effort, but both of them start getting gang tactics on him, and just pretty much the match gets thrown out. Then Triple H comes in for the save, and they just beat him off and just beat the crap out of him. During the celebration, go backstage, and there's Johnny Ace and David Otunga telling how next at Vengeance it will be CM Punk and Triple H against the Awesome Truth. And that's Raw. My thoughts? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I can't say if this is a good episode or a bad episode, because there were things about it I liked, and there were things about it I hated. I mean, I liked where the story was going. I liked the whole process of the story, but I hated it how the matches just plain much sucked. I liked the fact that we had CM Punk on commentary early on, but I hated Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. They sucked. I liked that JR got called an ingrate for what he did, but I hated that he got fired. I like all the changes that have been going on, but I hated Johnny Ace as being in charge. It just flip-flopped. Just when I think I can find something I liked, it just disappointed me. But then I found something. Then there was something I hated, but I ended up liking it. I can't really give a verdict for this episode. I mean, It's going to vary from person to person. I know my friend Legato hates it. I know the majority of my friends on the forums are hating on it, which is their personal opinion. But I myself personally, I can't say. This is one of the most confusing and difficult Raws to review. It's not so bad that it's not so bad that it's terrible, but it's not so good that it's great. I don't know what to call it. It's just a weird Raw. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's all good. I'm not saying it's all bad. It's just weird. Just very, very weird. And Joe agrees with me. But anyway, moving on. It's that time once again, everyone. Time for the D-Cell Battery Award. And who will the D-Cell Battery be going to? For the first time on the show, Michael Cole. Honestly. I enjoyed Michael Cole when he's just being neutral Michael Cole. The Michael Cole I saw at the last pay-per-view at Hell in a Cell, that is a Michael Cole I can tolerate. But tonight, it was just the annoying, self-centered, egotistical, dick-slobbering, self-centered bastard that we all come to hate. I mean, God. Just insufferable. We went from having Punk on commentary, which is almost as great as CM Punk ice cream bars, to having Michael Cole to suck John Laurinaitis' dick. I mean, some people say that Sheamus, Punk, and Cena were kissing Triple H's ass. Well, kissing Triple H's ass is nothing compared to a Michael Cole blowjob, and he gave a lot of people a blowjob tonight, which is disgusting to hear. Ugh. And he was overly happy that JR had to get his walking papers. Listen, you mealy mouthed pasty son of a bitch. You will never be as on your best day. You will not equal JR on his worst day. So just shut up. Oh God. So yeah, Michael Cole, I'm gonna throw a D-Cell battery at your fucking head. Anyway, so that's Raw. Tune in this Thursday when I give my very last TNA Impact review before I join the WrestleCast's TNA boycott. It's the final show before the big Bound for Glory pay-per-view this weekend. How will they book it? And does Robert Roode will Robert Roode actually get the title? You never know. So until then, this is shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, and Joe, saying goodnight and wrestle on.